back, Sinners, to another episode of Saturday Night Cinema. I'm your host, as always, Sawyer St. Sin. Now, you might be saying, hey, Sawyer, you don't look like you did in all the other ones. Well, I thought since we're doing, a punk rock movie, maybe I would let down my hair, change my makeup up, put on some leather, and do the show. So, tonight is all about the punk rock zombie movie, Return of the Living Dead. They're back from the grave and they're ready to party. So am I. Let's get into the deets. So the release date for this movie, August 16th, 1995. Just like, a little over 2 years before moi was born. I know. I'm getting old. Not as old as some, but still getting old. Also, I've got notes, so if you see them from time to time, don't worry about it. This was produced by Orion Pictures. The director is Mr. Dan O'Banion, who really wanted to kind of knock out some of the stereotypical, tropes that we see in zombie movies. We'll get into more detail about that later. Then we have special effects makeup artist, Tony Gardner. He's did some really cool stuff in this movie, like the Split Dog, which was fabulous, just fabulous. And, Tarman, which we'll talk a little bit about him more later. And then, of course, the sexiest of the zombies that I've, currently seen in some things in Trash, when she, finally has a run-in. So our cast. So we'll start off with kind of like how they're introduced to us in the film. We've got Clu Goularg as Bert. He's the owner of the medical supply company where this all begins. Then we have James Karen as Frank. He's an employee at the medical supply place. He's kind of the reason why everything went down. He made a stupid choice. We have Tom Matthews as Freddy. Poor Freddy, it's his first day on the job and Frank's got a dumb idea, gets them both into trouble. It's a rough first day on the job. And then we have the morgue worker. I guess technically he's, what's that? What is that? Mortician. That's it. Mortician is played by Don Kafla, and his name is Ernie in the movie. So we have a Bert and an Ernie who work across the street from each other, who've been friends for years. Do you think they meant to do that, or is that just like complete coincidence? Interesting. Next come our group of young idiots who like to play around in cemeteries where they shouldn't be. Look, if a cemetery is boarded up, I would probably stay out of it. I like to go hang out in cemeteries, but I don't have to bust down gates to get in. Anywho, so we have Beverly Rudolph playing Tina, who is Freddy's girlfriend. Poor Tina. Then we have John Philbin, who plays Chuck. Chuck's kind of like that new wave guy in the crew, hangs around with, big boom box always on him. Just kind of like, the ducky of the crew, if we're gonna, reference some other 80s movies. We have Jewel Shepard as Casey, the party girl. She just wants booze and to have a good time. That's all she's here for. Then we have Miguel A. Nunez Jr. as Spider. He's the only one that really kind of, is making some sense in this movie a little bit. I mean, and that other trope of horror movies that just seems so stupid and cliche that, the African American's gonna be the first to die. Well, that doesn't happen here. He lives. Well, until the very end when nobody lives. But, they didn't do that horror movie trope in this one either. So, good job. I like that. And then we have Brian Peck as Scuzz. Yeah, Scuzz. I mean, we don't really see a whole lot of Scuzz. I mean, he does kind of freak out a little bit, when the zombies are, trying to come in. But other than that, there's not really much to say about him. Then we have Mark Venturini as Suicide. I mean, he just says that they use him for his car, that's all that they want. And, he's kind of, I guess, the spoken leader of the little group. But, out of the group, I mean, minus, Freddy, who's kind of doomed before the credits even roll in the beginning, the title credits. He's the first one of the friends to really die. So, I mean, I guess he wasn't that important to their friend group. Oh well. I'm gonna save that one for last. And then we have Jonathan Terry playing Colonel Glover. So Colonel Glover, I'll get into kind of a little bit more about him in a minute. But, he's just an army guy who's trying to figure out where these Easter eggs have gone. Yes. And see, that's one reason why I'm doing, this movie review today. Because it's the day before Easter. And the tanks that the zombies are in are called Easter eggs. And then the cemetery is called Resurrection Cemetery. And, I mean, zombies come back to life just like, the Savior did. Not saying anything, but you can put two and two together. And last but not least, we have the icon, one of my favorite scream queens from the 80s, Linnea Quigley, as Trash. Linnea just is amazing. And she does a scene in this movie, where she's dancing naked in the cemetery. Goals, by the way. That sounds like fun. But, she's so unapologetic for what she's done in the movies. She just is I'm not the best actress, and I do horror movies, and I know what my fans like. My fans like to see boobs. I mean, if you don't know your audience, how can, you really please them, right? I mean, she knows where her assets lie. Okay, that was a bad joke. I'm sorry. So, this movie has had 3 other sequels come after it. So you have Return of the Living Dead 2, Return of the Living Dead 3, which that one is a badass movie. The main character is the coolest freaking zombie that I've ever seen. So cool. And then Return of the Living Dead 4, which I haven't seen 4, so I can't really talk about it, like, in a, you know, whatever. But, like, I mean, it's gotta be pretty good. I mean, I like zombie movies. I mean, some of them are kind of predictable, but, like, all in all, like, they're pretty fun. So, like, not only do we have, you know, like, the punk rock characters to really give us that feel, and also, like, some of the stuff that the director had did to kind of break out some of the, like, normal, like, what you think of zombie movies to be and what zombies to be in general. But the soundtrack had some of the, like, you know, top, like, underground, I won't say top punk bands, because some of these weren't, like, really big. Some of them just, you know, were really popular in the LA scene. So we have The Damned and The Flesh Eaters and TSOL. I mean, we have 45 Grave, which the lead singer for 45 Grave, I just found this interesting. She was actually the body double in Fright Night 2, like, for the vampire bat, because she was just the right size and, like, everything, and for that role, so she stood in as a body double. So I thought that was cool. Then we have the Cramps, and someone who I have gotten into recently, like, way into, like, the CD is currently, like, on repeat in my car constantly, is Rocky Erickson. I don't know why I haven't, like, you know, heard of him before, but if you, you know, enjoy songs about zombies and vampires and all of the spooky, ooky things, you should check out Rocky Erickson. He's absolutely fantastic. So, I told you, you know, the Easter eggs, they're just called Easter eggs. This movie is supposed to set place the day before Independence Day. So we're talking July 3rd, 1984 in Louisville, Kentucky. But most of the movie was filmed in LA. There's just a little bit of the movie in the cemetery with the police cars that was filmed in Louisville, Kentucky, in the Eastern Cemetery. So all of the cop cars and the uniforms, like, all of that was, like, straight on from the time, you know, period accurate, as you would say, for this movie. We talked about Linnea, so I'm just going to skip over my notes on that one. So there's yellow smoke in this movie, and the director really wanted yellow because, I mean, yellow stands out pretty well. But he was having a hard time figuring out exactly what would make that yellow, like, really stand out. And they landed on sulfur. So, I mean, you can only imagine, one, how bad that must have smelled, but two, like, if you're in a place with sulfur like that for too long, you're gonna get a major headache. So, I mean, the things that you do for your craft, right? So, this movie says that it's based on real events. So those real events, Frank explains to Freddy in the beginning of the movie that what led the Army's Easter eggs to be sent here, first off, was a shipping error, which you would think that the Army would be a little bit more careful, right? I mean, you would think that it would be a little bit more careful with something like, I don't know, something that caused a zombie apocalypse in an air. Who knows? Anyways, that it happened on real events that the movie Night of the Living Dead was based off of. They just, changed the names and locations and everything of the people to, well, they changed the story a lot because the army was like, this can't get out. So, but yeah, they're like kind of trying to like play off, Night of the Living Dead, but like this isn't like, necessarily like a sequel to it. You know what I'm saying? So we see Trash, and she says that the worst thing that she could think of to be like how to die would be to be eaten alive by old men. Well, unfortunately in her case, that's exactly what happened. She got eaten alive by zombies that were coming out of the grave. Sucks that, she died in the way that she thought would be the most awful. But she does turn into a badass zombie that is completely naked with flaming red hair, and she can like basically like detach her jaw and like swallow you whole. I'm sorry, what was I saying? Alright, so I'm going to put my notes away for a little bit and just kind of like talk to you about the movie. So like I said, Frank at the beginning, like when he's showing Freddy around and how they kind of do things at the medical exam, the medical supply office, he tells him the story, hey, this came here because of, shipping error, and he's like, do you want to see them? They're in the basement. Freddy, this is when you say, no, I'm good. I don't need to see them. But of course they go down and they see them, and they open the tank, and, there's just like a body just like in this, tank. And, well, something happens then when they go to close it, and it shoots out some kind of awful smelling, horrible death mist. So this happens before the title credits even come up. So we get hit with this like right in the beginning. It's crazy. So like they're incapacitated for a while, and they come to and they realize that like it looks like the tank is empty. Maybe when the air hit the body, it just turned into like this ooey gooey nasty stuff at the bottom. Little did they know that actual Tarman was coming out. It's crazy. He looks gross, like real gross. But like there's an actual person down in there, which is this guy Alan Trotman. And he had worked with Jim Henson a lot, so it's kind of was only fitting. He worked a lot of Muppet suits to get him to work this crazy zombie like thing that they were doing. It was nuts. But so anyways, okay. Frank and Freddy, they go upstairs and they realize like some stuff's not right. Like in the freezer, they hear some noise, and it turns out one of the cadavers that was in there, like, he came to life. And he was bright yellow too, which, I told you that, he wanted yellow smoke and everything, but yeah, he was bright yellow. And then the split dogs come to life. That was really sad to see like half a dog just like, panting and barking. It was weird. And then the butterflies in the case were like coming alive too, flapping their wings all weird. So they decided to call Bert, you know, and I mean, they were gonna, you know, call the police, and it's like, no, don't call the police. And then, you know, Freddie said the rational thing of like, hey, call the number that's on the tank. No one wanted to do that. Don't want to get the army involved. So Bert comes and he's like, you know, I mean, we cut the heads off, right? That's what's always been in the movies. That's all they do in the movies. Well, they like pickaxed yellow dude through the head, and he was still sitting there just flailing around. They cut off his head, and his body gets up and starts running around with its head off. So, I mean, again, we're not following normal zombie movie tropes here. We're just, everything you know is just like out the window. How do you kill these guys then? Well, Bert gets the great idea of chopping up all the body parts, putting them in plastic bags, and take them over to the mortuary, where they have the bright idea of burning the body. Yeah, that didn't work out so well. See, what happened was when they burned the body, like all of the smoke, yellow smoke, all of that went out the chimney and into the air and caused some kind of like acid rain situation. So like our friends that were, you know, in the cemetery having a good time, watching trash, like, you know, shake it and get naked and dance around. Yeah, they get caught in this like burning ass rain. They're all like, my skin. So like they run to Suicide's car and put up the top of his car, but damn, wouldn't you know, roof leaks. So for some reason they run back. No, sorry. First they run to the medical supply where their friend is supposed, you know, they're supposed to be picking up their friend anyways, and you know, then they hear like Tina yelling in the basement, and well, you know, Tarman's like trying to get her. So Suicide, you know, like is like, what's going on? And then he gets attacked by Tarman and his brains get eaten. It's just, yeah. But then, you know, they get the bright idea to like, you know, run. That's basically all that they really did. They just ran upstairs and waited for him to come, and, you know, they knocked his head off, and it seemed like he didn't really do much after that. I mean, once they knocked Tarman's head off, he seemed to be fine. We didn't have to burn him. So anyways, so they run out of, you know, the medical supply area and back into the cemetery where they get split up. And like Chuck and party girl Cindy, or they like, you know, run back to medical supply where they try to call for help, and a zombie pops in and throws the phone, and you know, they're just kind of stuck in there not really knowing what to do. And the other ones are still in the cemetery running towards, you know, the mortuary. But, like I said, you know, Trash gets, like, attacked by zombies. Well, she got split from the group. So, only Spider and Tina and Scuzz make it to the mortuary, where they find Freddy. So Tina's happy about that, but Freddy and Frank don't look so good. I mean, whatever hit them good. They're not looking hot. And so they call the paramedics. The paramedics come and they're like, I'm not getting a pulse. And their temperature is like room temp. So the paramedics like go outside and, well, you know what happens. You know, they get attacked by the zombies and eaten. I mean, of course it's like most of the movie. Well, so, I mean, in more examination into, I mean, things happen. Zombies are trying to break in. A torso zombie actually, like, gets a hold of one of the people. And they, like, contain her and strap her down and basically interrogate her. And, I mean, they're like, hey, why do you eat brains? And this is the first time that, like, a zombie movie has kind of explained, like, why the brain situation. Like, why are zombies like, brains? And she says that it hurts to be dead. And now, the mortician had kind of talked about how, the body goes through rigor mortis, and first it starts, in the brain, and then it moves into, like, your joints, and then it goes into your muscles, and it makes, like, the body very rigid into whatever position it was laying in. So, yeah, I could only imagine that, coming back from the dead, and, like, rigor mortis had set in that, I mean, your body's gonna hurt real bad. So, she's basically saying, like, brains make the pain go away. And which, like, my theory is, live brains, because they only want live brains. But, live brains produce chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin and, adrenaline. Things of that nature that can, adrenaline, I've seen people, like, hurt themselves and have been, doing activities that pump adrenaline through their body, and they keep doing what they're doing. So, and dopamine and oxytocin are, feel good chemicals in your brain. So, yeah, that's just my opinion, though. That's probably why. From what she said. So, poor Frank and Freddie, we've figured out that they're now dead. It's just a matter of time before they, they're only like brains, And Tina refuses to, like, leave his side. She wants to stay there with him, and then, she finally realizes, like, it was a bad idea to be, locked in a room with, with these people that are about to turn into zombies. And he does. He tries to attack her, and she gets away. They come and save her. But while they're, like, trying to save her, you can see that Frank sneaks out the door. And you're like, what's Frank doing? Where's he going? Well, Frank at least has, like, enough, like, sound body and mind and spirit, I guess, that he goes to the crematorium. He takes his wedding ring off and hangs it on part of there, turns it on, brings out the gate, and he burns himself alive. Which, it's kind of sweet, and Rocky Erickson is playing in the background, Burn the Flames, and I got a real sentimental moment there, because you could tell that, he didn't want to hurt anybody, and especially, like, didn't want something to happen, to his wife, so, yeah, he kills himself. Make sure that he can't hurt anybody. It's really sweet. So, Spider and Bert, they are trying to run and get help. They're able to, oh, I almost forgot about my favorite little part. So the zombies are smart enough that they're using the CB radio and they're like, send more paramedics, send more cops. Like, they're basically being like, hey, send me food. I mean, you know, just like our normal zombies today, and DoorDash, and Uber Eats, and whatever other delivery service you get, right? I mean, I guess not quite, but, you know, at least they're smart enough to order some takeout. Sorry, even that joke got me. So Bert and Spider, like, try, you know, and they like, I mean, they get in a cop car and they like literally park like right by the door, but there's just too many zombies. The other ones won't be able to get out, so they just like hightail it back out the other way. And Spider's like, hey, we can't just have them, like, we just can't leave them. What are you doing? Well, but then something happens and Bert totally crashes the police car, and they go into the medical supply place and they find, you know, the other two, and they're like, hey, we're saved, oh my God. He's like, I'm gonna go use the phone, and they're like, you can't, and it got broken. And then he's like, well, at least mine and Frank's car is still here, and then the cop car blows up, and there goes all the cars. No more cars. But then he remembers that there's a phone in the basement. And they call the number on the Easter eggs. So Colonel, you know, Glover wakes up in the middle of the night and he gets in touch with some people, gives them the codes. Let's check in on our friends over at the mortuary before we go into more about the codes. So, Mr. Ernie and Tina, they climb up into the attic and they try to barricade into the attic as best they can, while, you know, Freddy is like, Tina, I love you, just come here, Tina. You know, trying to get her to come down there so he can eat her brains. I love you, come here. You know, sweet talking. Ernie, like, gets out his pistol and he looks like he's thinking about shooting Tina in the head. Now, I mean, I don't know if that was, I mean, zombies in this movie at least like live brains. So if you shoot her in the head, that's not going to help you, Ernie, because then you can't sacrifice her to the zombies. You know, I mean, if her brain's dead, then they don't want her, they want you. So I'm thinking that maybe he was just trying to, like, you know, be sympathetic and give her a less painful death. But I don't know. So, you know, while all of this is going on, the Colonel is giving the codes, giving the coordinates. They're just gonna nuke them. And they do. And it's like right as, like, you know, Freddy is like busting through the attic, like, you know, nuke, blow up everything in this radius so it can't get out, so it's contained, right? And then, like, as, you know, we're kind of wrapping up a little bit, like, you hear, you know, them on the phone, and they're, yeah, it was, you know, everything's good, like, you know, barely any, like, casualties, blah, 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 you know, all of this. And he's like, there are some reports of, like, burning rain. Seriously? oh, but you know, making excuses. No, the burning rain is what started all of this in the first place. And so then we see like what had happened in the burning rain, like it dropping through, you know, the soil, and there's just gonna be zombies again. Like everyone that the like nuke like didn't completely destroy, it's gonna be zombies again. Like what's wrong with you? I mean, you know, I know the military and the government are supposed to keep us safe, but like in all of these zombie movies, like they're the ones that you can't trust. Like I would probably trust a zombie over our government in these movies. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just mm, mm. So to recap, like, you know, some of the, you know, zombies are normally slow and like stupid. These zombies are fast and intelligent. Like, you know, calling send more cops. You know? So, I mean, the attitude of like filming this movie along with the music and some of the characters, like, yeah, it's like the like punk rock version of the zombie flicks. You know, like it goes against so much that you like think that you know about zombies. And it was really the first one to kind of, you know, we have a lot now that go against what we think about zombies. But this was the first one. This was like the pioneering one that was like, you know, let's try to do it different. Let's try to expand and like really see what we can do with this genre of horror movie. And I love it. Absolutely love it. Oh. And I mean, I didn't mention this earlier. I just said that I changed up my look, but my makeup is inspired by the Queen Linnea's character Trash. It didn't have, you know, a red wig, so you just get. I'm like if Trash and the Joker had a baby. This is what would happen. See, now I want to see that. I want to see someone make that happen because that would be really funny. Anywho, I've rambled on long enough about this movie. I love this movie, and I hope that you guys will go out there and check it out for yourselves. It is fun. It's funny. Like, I mean, you know, it's not just horror. It's a roller coaster of like movie. It's funny. It's got, you know, zombies, which who doesn't love zombies? And it's got nudity, like full frontal, like nudity. Like all she's wearing is some leggings. Ugh. Again, goals. I want to dance in a cemetery. That'd be fun. I'll make that happen one day. But we'll be back next week with, you know, really kind of want to give y'all a clue, but I'm not even sure what I want to do next week. Do we do possession? Do we do witches? If there's anything particular that you guys would like to see me like do, you know, leave it in the comments. Tell me, what's your favorite movie that you would like to see me review? Until next time, I'm Sawyer Saintson. Have a wonderful Saturday and happy Easter.